My brothers and sisters, welcome back to another episode of the Hijrah channel as I send you peace, love, blessings and greetings from my home village here in Azad Kashmir, Pakistan with As-salām alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Many of you want to know how did I get from this to this. I will take you back to the year 2017. If you have watched my initial opening episodes of this channel, the introduction to my Hijrah and Emigration, you will find that in year 2017 was when I suddenly became ill and I was unable to walk on my right leg. Subsequently ended up in hospital and within 3 months I found myself in the cancer unit. A surgical procedure eventually gave me the all clear, alhamdulillah. But my life was transformed from this event, which indeed was a blessing in disguise. And here it is, I try to convince my family that we must make Hijrah and emigrate out of Britain. People suddenly think I've gone crazy, and doubts begin creeping into my mind also whether this is a good idea. And then suddenly I have two dreams. The first dream I had was quite scary and daunting. It felt so real. The angel of death had arrived and was extracting my soul. I could feel every part of it, and whilst I am desperately trying to speak out, I am struggling to get any word out. But eventually, with such great difficulty, the following words come out of my mouth. La ilaha illallahu Muhammadur Rasulullah. When I woke up, my wife told me that she had heard me reciting the kalma in my dream and asked me what had happened. The only thing I could say was the angel of death had arrived. What seemed like a somber and worrisome dream was actually a good sign. The renowned Islamic dream interpreter Ibn Sirin says about such a dream. It portrays about the person having the dream that they have returned to a state of iman, like they have been born afresh, they are in a good state, or that they have returned and reaffirmed their faith. So all in all, a good dream, a good sign. And now, moving on to the most important dream I've ever had. I am stood in what appears to be a desert or open land. It's quite stormy. There are a lot of people frantically running around in all directions, running for their lives. I am stood amongst a group of around 30 people, and we have a leader who is stood at the front. He is dressed in a long black robe of some sort. I could see his face side on. Amongst the dark and miserable surroundings, his face is lit up with so much light. Suddenly, a woman comes running towards us and asks, "Who is this man? And why are we following him?" One from the group replies, "He is the Imam. He is Imam Al Mahdi, alaihi al-salām." Subhanallah. The dream ends when one of the group says to the woman, "If you want to be part of right guidance on the path of truth, then join us now." And then the dream ends. The most vivid part of the dream for me was the people around us. They were running around in absolute terror, as if they never knew which direction to turn to. Yet those of us in the group were calm and felt safe, a feeling of content. These dreams were profound in convincing me that I had to continue my struggle to move away from the false life that I was living, if I was to become rightly guided. Allah Almighty answered the questions I had posed about my doubts. And what a way of confirmation that I was headed in the right direction, despite what 99% of people around me were telling me. Do I believe Imam Al Mahdi alaihi as-salām is present upon this earth? Yes, I do. Allah Almighty knows best, but there are other reasons why I feel the presence. And so these two profoundly important dreams led me to the Holy Land in November of 2019, when I visited the Blessed Land as part of a group led by Hafiz Qasad Ali, who is the owner of a tour company called the Holy Lands. 2 weeks later, I visited Makkah, where I performed Umrah with my mother and my nephew. And a few months later, I visited Constantinople, which today is commonly referred to as Istanbul in Turkey. Strangely, it is illegal to use the word Constantinople in Turkey, but our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam called it Constantinople, so we will continue calling it by that name. Our brother, the Turkish Prime Minister, again doesn't seem to know it, although I have a sneaky suspicion he knows it very well. Just as much as he knows that NATO is the armed wing of Zionism, yet Turkey has been a member of NATO since 1952, launching their forces from NATO bases in Konya and Incirlik to bomb our brothers and sisters in Syria, supplying weapons to rebels in Libya to execute Gaddafi in cold blood, and then landing in Libya the day after to celebrate. And now supplying oil through underground pipelines, which is fueling the war machine of the Zionist state of Israel. The Turkish Prime Minister speaks very sweet words. The actions, on the contrary, speak for themselves. All this traveling in just 1 year strengthened me in my spiritual quest to search for the truth. It's like my dead heart came alive. The strategic importance of these locations in the end times cannot be underestimated. Certainly when you study the ahadith of Nabi Muhammad alaihi salatu wassalam, a prominent hadith, it is stated that when Jerusalem is center stage and Medina is no longer involved in Islamic affairs, then expect the Malhama, which is the Great War. Umranul Bayt al-Maqdis, Kharabo Yatrib. Kharabo Yatrib, Kharuj al-Malhama. Kharuj al-Malhama, Fatul Constantiniya. Fatul Constantiniya, Kharuj al-Dajjal. And so when Jerusalem is center stage and Medina is no longer involved in worldly or Islamic affairs, virtually non-existent, the next event would take place will be the Al-Malhama Al-Kubra, which is the Great War or the Armageddon. And then we will have the conquest of Constantinople, and Turkey or NATO cannot stop this. And then thereafter, Dajjal, the Antichrist, would appear in human form within 7 months or 7 years. But isn't it interesting that when you bring up these 3 strategic locations upon a map, you can draw a perfectly straight line between the 3 cities from Constantinople to Jerusalem and to Medina. And because of all this, I was able to make Hijrah and emigrate out of Britain 3 years ago. And my first point of stop was Turkey, in which I spent 9 months, where I met some wonderful brothers who had also left the United States of America and Britain. And for the past 2 years, I have been in Azad Kashmir, Pakistan, where I spent some quality time with my parents, during which time my father of blessed memory returned to Allah Almighty on a Yawm al-Jummah on the 30th day of Ramadan earlier this year. May Allah Almighty bless his soul and grant him al-Jannat al-Firdaus. Ameen. And so there you have it, about 2 very strategic and important dreams that I had, which assisted and inspired me both physically, emotionally and spiritually to be able to make Hijrah a reality. We shall leave you with this profound verse in order that it may inspire you to begin your own journey of Hijrah, both physically and spiritually. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
أفلم يسيروا في الأرض فتكون لهم قلوب يعقلون بها أو آذان يسمعون بها فإنها لا تعمى الأبصار ولكن تعمى القلوب التي في الصدور